In a world of constant noise, many feel powerless. Some men command respect in silence. Others beg for it in chaos. We see some men navigate conflict with ease, while others crumble under pressure. We wonder why some men seem unshakable, while we feel like we're constantly fighting to maintain our ground. But here's the truth most men never discover. Real power isn't about domination or control over others. It's about mastery over yourself. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that the man who controls his mind, his emotions, and his reactions possesses a power that cannot be taken away. Today we're diving into 7 Stoic laws of power that have stood the test of time. These aren't manipulative tactics or cheap tricks. They're profound principles that will transform how you move through the world, from learning how to maintain unshakable composure to mastering the art of strategic silence. Each law is a key that unlocks a deeper level of personal power. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some men naturally command respect and influence, while others fade into the background. You'll have the knowledge to become the kind of man that others instinctively follow and respect. If you appreciate what we're doing here at Iron Stoic Code, in the measure of possible, consider to hit the subscribe button and don't skip any part of the video. Let's embark on this journey to true power. Law 1. Master your emotions or they will master you. Picture this. 2 men face the same insult. The first reacts immediately with anger, his face flushed, his words sharp and defensive. Everyone in the room sees his loss of control. His power evaporates in that moment. The second man pauses. He feels the anger rising but doesn't let it control him. He responds calmly, measured, in complete control. Who has the power in this situation? The answer is obvious. Epictetus taught us that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. This is the foundation of all power. The man who is slave to his emotions is slave to everything. His anger can be triggered by anyone. His pride can be wounded by simple words. His fear can be exploited by those who understand him. He is predictable. He is controllable. He is weak. But the man who masters his emotions, he is unpredictable in the best way. You cannot manipulate him through anger because he doesn't react impulsively. You cannot wound him through insults because he doesn't derive his worth from external validation. You cannot frighten him easily because he's trained himself to face discomfort. Think of Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome. He could have indulged every emotional impulse. He could have executed anyone who displeased him. He could have raged and celebrated and despaired publicly. But he didn't. He maintained iron control over his internal state regardless of external circumstances. This gave him true power. Not the power of his position, but the power of his character. How do you develop this mastery? Start by becoming aware of your emotional triggers. What makes you angry? What makes you defensive? What makes you anxious? Write these down. Study them like an enemy studies your weaknesses, because that's exactly what they are. Then practice the pause. When you feel a strong emotion rising, stop. Take 3 deep breaths. Create space between the trigger and your response. In that space lies your power. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Soon you'll find that situations that used to control you no longer have that power. You'll watch others lose their composure while you remain steady. And people will notice. They'll sense that you possess something they lack. They'll respect you for it. They'll follow you because of it. Remember this. The man who cannot control himself cannot control anything else. But the man who masters himself masters his world. Law 2. Speak less, observe more. In a world that rewards constant talking, constant posting, constant expression, silence has become a superpower. Most men feel the need to fill every silence. They talk to prove their intelligence. They share to gain validation. They explain to justify themselves. And in doing so, they give away their power. The Stoics understood something profound. Words have weight only when they're rare. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively in his private journals, but spoke sparingly in public. When he did speak, people listened. Because his words were chosen carefully, because they carried meaning, because they were backed by observation and wisdom. Consider this. When you talk constantly, you reveal everything. Your insecurities, your strategies, your weaknesses, your true thoughts. You give others ammunition to use against you. You make yourself predictable. You diminish your mystique. But when you speak less and observe more, everything changes. You learn. While others are busy talking, trying to impress, trying to dominate the conversation, you're watching. You're listening. You're gathering information. You're understanding the dynamics in the room. You're seeing what others miss. You learn who has real power and who's pretending. You see the alliances and the tensions. You understand people's motivations and fears. And this knowledge is power. Strategic silence also commands respect. Have you noticed how the most powerful person in the room often speaks the least? They don't need to prove anything. Their presence speaks for them. When they do choose to speak, everyone stops to listen, because they know it will be worth hearing. There's a technique the Stoics practiced. Before speaking, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If the answer to any of these is no, remain silent. This single practice will transform how you communicate. You'll stop wasting words on gossip, complaints, and empty talk. You'll speak only when you have something valuable to contribute, and people will notice the difference. They'll lean in when you speak. They'll value your input more highly. They'll respect your restraint. Silence also protects you. When you don't reveal everything, you maintain an element of mystery. People can't fully predict you. They can't manipulate you as easily. You hold your cards close. This isn't about being secretive or dishonest. It's about being strategic with your energy and your information. Share when it serves a purpose. Speak when it adds value. Otherwise, observe, listen, learn. The power is in what you don't say as much as what you do. Law 3. Focus only on what you can control. This is perhaps the most fundamental Stoic law of power, and yet most men violate it every single day. They waste enormous energy on things completely outside their control. They worry about other people's opinions. They stress about the economy. They rage about politics. They complain about traffic. They obsess over their past mistakes. And in doing so, they drain their power completely. Epictetus gave us a simple but revolutionary framework. He said that some things are within our control and some things are not. Within our control are our own opinions, our motivations, our desires, our aversions. In short, whatever is our own doing. Not within our control are our body, our possessions, our reputation, our position. In short, whatever is not our own doing. When you fully internalize this distinction, everything changes. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone criticizes your work unfairly. You cannot control their criticism. That's outside your circle of control. But you can control your response. You can control whether you let it affect your self-worth. You can control what you learn from the feedback. You can control your next actions. Where do you focus your energy? On the criticism you cannot change, or on your response which you fully control? Most men waste their power first. Powerful men focus entirely on the second. This principle applies to everything. You cannot control whether you get promoted, but you can control the quality of your work. You cannot control whether someone respects you, but you can control whether you live according to your values. You cannot control the outcome of your efforts, but you can control the effort itself. When you focus exclusively on what you can control, several powerful things happen. First, you stop being a victim. Victims focus on external circumstances. They blame and complain and feel powerless. But when you focus on what you control, you reclaim your agency. You become the actor, not the acted upon. Second, you become much more effective. Instead of dissipating your energy across 100 things you cannot influence, you concentrate it on the few things you can. This focused power achieves results. Third, you develop unshakable inner peace. Anxiety comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When you release what you cannot control, you release anxiety with it. What remains is calm, focused power. Here's a daily practice. At the end of each day, review your worries and frustrations. For each one, ask, is this within my control? If yes, make a plan to address it. If no, consciously release it. Train yourself to recognize the difference instantly. Over time, you'll find that almost everything that used to disturb you falls into the category of things you cannot control. And once you stop giving energy to those things, your power multiplies exponentially. Law 4. Build yourself through action, not words. There's a certain type of man who talks endlessly about his plans, his goals, his future achievements. He tells everyone what he's going to do. He creates an image of himself through words. And then he wonders why no one takes him seriously. The Stoics had a different approach. They believed that character is revealed through action, not declaration. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it." This is a law of power because talk is cheap and everyone knows it. The man who constantly talks about his discipline, his work ethic, his values, is usually compensating for lack of actual discipline, work ethic, and values. It's noise meant to create an illusion, but the man who simply lives these things, he doesn't need to say anything. His results speak for him. His consistency speaks for him. His character speaks for him. People can sense the difference immediately. Consider two men trying to build a business. The first talks about it constantly. He tells everyone his vision. He explains his strategy. He makes promises about what he'll achieve. He's all enthusiastic and has big plans. The second says little. He works quietly. He makes progress steadily. He learns from failures without broadcasting them. He builds without announcing each step. A year later, who has the actual business? Who has earned real respect? The answer is obvious. This law of power teaches us to reverse the common pattern. Instead of declaring what you'll do and then trying to live up to your words, simply do the work and let the results declare themselves. This approach has several advantages. First, it eliminates the pressure of public expectations. When you announce your goals to everyone, you create external pressure that often leads to anxiety and failure. When you work quietly, you're free to experiment, fail, adjust, and grow without judgment. Second, it prevents the satisfaction trap. There's research showing that when you talk about your goals, your brain experiences a premature sense of achievement. You get the reward feeling without doing the actual work. This makes you less likely to follow through. Silence preserves your motivation. Third, it builds genuine credibility. Anyone can talk. Results require actual effort, skill, and persistence. When you show up with results instead of promises, people's respect is automatic and deep. The Stoic approach is simple. Identify what you want to become. Then become it through daily action. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Don't seek validation for it. Just do the work. Train your body. Build your skills. Develop your character. Create your projects. One day at a time. One choice at a time. And when people eventually notice and ask how you did it, you can smile and say, "I just kept showing up." This restraint, this commitment to action over words, this is real power. It's the power of substance over image. And in a world drowning in empty promises and false personas, it makes you stand out like a lighthouse in fog. Law 5. Turn obstacles into opportunities. Life will test you. This isn't a possibility, it's a guarantee. You'll face rejection, failure, loss, betrayal, and hardship. The question isn't whether obstacles will appear. The question is how you'll respond when they do. Most men see obstacles as problems, as unfair circumstances, as reasons why they can't succeed. They complain, they make excuses, they quit. and in doing so they confirm their own powerlessness. But the Stoics saw obstacles differently. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is a revolutionary perspective. It transforms every obstacle from an enemy into an ally. Consider a man who loses his job unexpectedly. The common response is despair, anger at the injustice, and fear about the future. This man becomes paralyzed. He's a victim of circumstances, but the Stoic response is different. This man asks, what opportunity does this create? Maybe this is the push he needed to start that business he's been thinking about. Maybe this frees him to pivot into a career he's actually passionate about. Maybe this teaches him resilience and self-reliance he wouldn't develop otherwise. Same obstacle, completely different outcome. The difference is perspective and response. This isn't positive thinking or empty optimism. It's a practical strategy for extracting value from everything that happens to you. It's a refusal to let external circumstances dictate your internal state or your ultimate trajectory. Think of it this way. Every obstacle contains a hidden gift. Sometimes the gift is obvious. A failure teaches you what doesn't work, bringing you closer to what does. A rejection redirects you toward a better opportunity. A loss reveals who your real friends are, but sometimes the gift is subtler. The gift might be patience. The gift might be humility. The gift might be strength. The gift might be wisdom you couldn't gain any other way. Your job is to find the gift. Not to deny the difficulty or pain, but to extract the lesson, the opportunity, the growth. Here's how you practice this law. When you face an obstacle, give yourself a moment to feel the natural emotional response. Disappointment, frustration, anger, these are human. But then, once the initial emotion passes, ask yourself 3 questions. What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? What opportunity might this create that I couldn't see before? Write down your answers. Force yourself to find at least 3 potential benefits or opportunities in every setback. This practice rewires your brain. Over time, you'll start seeing obstacles as challenges to overcome, rather than walls that stop you. You'll develop what the Stoics called the obstacle is the way mindset. And this mindset is pure power. Because while everyone else is stopped by the same obstacles, you're using them as stepping stones. While others are complaining, you're adapting. While others are quitting, you're getting stronger. This is how you become unstoppable, not by avoiding obstacles, but by transforming them into fuel for your journey. Law 6. Cultivate self-sufficiency in all things. Dependency is the enemy of power. The more you depend on external things for your happiness, your self-worth, your peace of mind, the less power you have. Because anything you depend on can be taken away. And the fear of that loss controls you. Most men are trapped in multiple dependencies. They depend on their job for identity and worth. They depend on relationships for happiness. They depend on possessions for status. They depend on others' approval for confidence. Each dependency is a chain that binds them. The Stoics practiced radical self-sufficiency, not isolation or rejection of others, but a fundamental completeness within themselves that meant nothing external could truly diminish them. Seneca wrote, "The man who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." He practiced voluntary poverty periodically, living on minimal food and basic conditions. Why? To prove to himself that he didn't need luxury, that his happiness wasn't dependent on comfort. This practice gave him incredible freedom. He could lose everything material and remain himself. Consider what this means practically. If your sense of worth depends entirely on your career success, what happens when you face a professional setback? You crumble. But if you've cultivated worth independent of your career, through your character, your relationships, your values, your growth, then a professional setback is just one area of life. It doesn't destroy you. If your happiness depends entirely on a relationship, what happens when that relationship faces difficulties or ends? You're devastated. But if you've learned to be content alone, to find joy in your own company, in your pursuits and growth, then relationships enhance your life rather than define it. This is the power of self-sufficiency. It doesn't mean you don't value or enjoy external things. It means you're not enslaved to them. You appreciate them but don't need them for your fundamental sense of well-being. How do you develop this? Start by practicing voluntary discomfort. Periodically do without things you normally rely on. Fast from food, entertainment, comfort, social media. Not permanently, but long enough to prove to yourself that you're fine without them. This breaks psychological dependencies. Also, develop your internal resources. Build skills that make you capable and confident. Cultivate interests that bring you joy independent of others. Create a rich inner life through reading, thinking, creating. The more you have within yourself, the less you need from outside yourself. Practice spending time alone and enjoying it. Many men can't stand being alone with their thoughts. They need constant distraction or company, but solitude is where you meet yourself. Learn to be good company for yourself. Another aspect is financial independence. Work toward a situation where you're not one paycheck away from disaster. Build savings, reduce debt, live below your means. Financial stress creates dependency and kills power. When you're financially stable, you can make decisions based on principles rather than desperation. The ultimate goal is what the Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy in the modern sense, but freedom from destructive passions and dependencies. It's arriving at a state where you genuinely don't need anything external to be fundamentally okay. From that place of sufficiency, you're truly free. You can love without neediness. You can pursue goals without desperation. You can face loss without devastation. This is unshakable power. Law 7. Accept death and live fully. This might seem like the darkest law, but it's actually the most liberating. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember you must die. Not as a morbid obsession, but as a tool for clarity and power. Most men live as if they're immortal. They postpone important things. They tolerate situations that drain them. They hold back their truth. They play it safe. They accumulate regrets. And then suddenly they're old or sick or dying. And they realize they wasted their most precious resource, time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This awareness that death could come at any moment, it changes everything. When you truly internalize your mortality, trivial concerns lose their power. That embarrassment you're worried about, meaningless in the face of death. That grudge you're holding, a waste of your limited time. That fear keeps you from pursuing what matters. Foolish when you remember you're dying anyway. Memento mori gives you permission to live authentically, to take risks, to speak the truth, to pursue meaning, because you understand viscerally that you don't have forever. This creates urgency without anxiety. It's not panicked rushing, but focused intention. Here's a practice. Each morning, remind yourself that you could die today, not to frighten yourself, but to clarify your priorities. If this were your last day, how would you spend it? What would you say to the people you love? What would you do? What wouldn't you waste time on? Then live accordingly. Stop postponing the life you actually want to live. Stop tolerating situations that slowly kill your spirit. Stop holding back your authentic self out of fear. You're going to die anyway. You might as well live first. This awareness also puts conflict in perspective. When someone insults you or treats you poorly, remember that both of you are temporary beings rushing toward death. Does this conflict really matter in that context? Usually not. This doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, but it prevents you from wasting energy on petty battles. Memento mori also intensifies appreciation. When you remember that every conversation with someone you love could be the last, you pay attention. You're present. You express your love. You don't take them for granted. The same applies to every experience. This meal, this sunset, this moment of peace. It's fleeting. It's precious. It's happening now and will never happen again exactly this way. The paradox is that accepting death makes you more alive. When you release the illusion of permanence, you stop sleepwalking through life. You wake up. You show up fully. You engage deeply. You live with intention. This is the ultimate power. Not power over death, which is impossible, but power through accepting death. When you've made peace with your mortality, fear loses its grip. You become willing to take the risks that matter. You become willing to stand for something, even if it costs you. Because you know the real tragedy isn't death. It's never having truly lived. So remember, you will die. Let that truth guide you. Let it clarify what matters. Let it free you from small concerns. Let it push you toward meaning and authenticity and love. Let it give you the courage to live fully while you can. As we end our journey through these 7 Stoic laws of power, remember this. True power isn't about controlling others. It's not about manipulation or domination. It's about mastery over yourself. It's about developing a mind and character that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. When you master your emotions, you gain control over your responses. When you speak less and observe more, you gain wisdom and presence. When you focus only on what you can control, you reclaim your agency and peace. When you build yourself through action rather than words, you develop real credibility. When you turn obstacles into opportunities, you become unstoppable. When you cultivate self-sufficiency, you become free. And when you accept death and live fully, you discover what truly matters. These aren't quick tricks. They're lifelong practices. But every day you apply them, you become more powerful. Not power that others give you, but power that comes from within. Power that cannot be taken away. Start today. Choose one law. Practice it until it becomes natural. Then add another. Over time, you'll transform into the kind of man who naturally commands respect, who moves through the world with quiet confidence, who cannot be easily manipulated or defeated, who lives according to his own principles regardless of external pressure. This is the power the Stoics discovered over 2,000 years ago, and it's just as relevant, just as transformative today. Thank you for being a part of Iron Stoic Code. If this lesson served you, subscribe. Not for entertainment, but for discipline. Another step is waiting on the screen. Choose it and continue the work. Stay grounded. Stay steady. True power is built in silence.